Yeah.
Welcome Nottingham to August 30th Board of Selectmen's meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order, starting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Before we get into our regular business here, I'd like to just make a shout out to the Board of Selectmen, the School Board, Nottingham Police and Fire, Lorraine Petrini, who all contributed to making the event that occurred last night a huge success. And I tip my hat to our local police department, where we had 0 incidents that had occurred with the amount of people that were there. And I also like to recognize the Raymond Ambulance Corps, who at the 11th hour provided an ambulance service to this event at no charge. So with a private ambulance service such as Raymond, they rely heavily on donations. I encourage everybody, not just because they're part of a fire department, we're neighbors and so on. I encourage everybody to donate to that service because that's how they survive. That being said, we'll roll right into our business here. Planning board? We have anything on the planning board?
Our meeting, basically, both things we had were pushed off. One was because it was about Lamprey Drive, which we haven't discussed yet. Another was about the water cross, which obviously that's got pushed off again. Then the rest of the meeting was basically housekeeping and what we're planning on discussing in the future for future meetings.
Okay. CIP? Nothing yet, right?
No, nothing since last week.
300th?
300th, they had a meeting last week, and the minutes, I wasn't there, but the minutes they discussed a bonfire, Nottingham Earth Day, program book. They've raised approximately $7,000 by the committee to this date, to date. A state park picnic and pole banners and the reenactment encampment.
Was there anything particular about Nottingham Earth Day that they?
Just September 11th.
Okay.
They'll be having it.
Okay. And any updates?
Before we go on, can we get some certainty on what's next on the 300th? I know we keep kicking this around in this portion of the meeting, but are you expecting anything from us? Are you expecting them to come back?
They're due to come back.
Yeah, we said we wanted to meet with them like every
Other.
Yeah.
or every third meeting or
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Every third meeting? Okay,
Yeah.
so.
Says the tentative items say the 300th for 9/20 on this.
They're coming to you, 9/20?
I don't know, it's on the paper. I
Yeah,
saw it, so.
Yes.
Oh, we had penciled that in, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because Chris, we got to get down to what's real and what the impact is.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
worried about. I read Steve's article this afternoon about the bonfire in the pit. Nobody's talked to the highway department about using the pit for a bonfire in January, so
Where did that come from?
I don't know, but things are starting to roll downhill, and I'm nervous that we don't have any structure in place for you to approve things, and I'm sounding like a broken record on this, but
That's what we asked for, and that's why we said we wanted them to come back. Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta iron out the particulars, especially, like you said, we got the highway department, we gotta get them involved if that's truly what's gonna happen, if that's what the board,
if we're publicizing things,
Yeah.
then we gotta get to a point where you've
Yep.
kind of blessed the plan, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was your intention, so,
Yep.
okay, thank you.
Any updates on Marston?
Yeah, one, I still need to work through the details, but Matt Kakuchis has been looking at, the cost of backstops and, fencing. And since last year, the cost of steel for chain link systems has risen 120%.
Yeah, okay. I figured that would happen.
So we gotta go back and revisit that. It may be, originally what we were looking at was pricing that included side fences. We may, I think we can save like about 12 grand or something like that if we don't do that. So I just haven't had a chance to circle back with Matt yet, but it's also one of those things that the longer we wait, the higher the prices go, so.
Doesn't look like there's any end in sight with the inflation, huh? No, okay. All right, town administrator report?
Just two quick things. Last week I sent you the bid results for the fire department mezzanine, and we didn't talk about it that night. They had just come in. And I suggested that we go with the low bidder. If there's no objection to that, that's the direction we're gonna go, if you're comfortable with that. Okay.
Yep, that was.
Do you need a motion on that, or?
Sure, yeah, that wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we go with the lowest bidder as far as the fire station renovations go.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor? Okay, unanimous.
All right, thank you. And the only other thing, I've been approached about, I don't know how real this is or how realistic it is, but I've been approached by a company that might be interested in leasing the landfill, the capped landfill land for the purposes of a solar generation system. I don't know much more than that. It's early, but is that something, any reason not to pursue that?
I'd be all in support of that.
No reason not to pursue it.
Yeah,
We don't know what we
It's
don't
just-
know about it
It's just
yet,
wasteland
but,
right now, sitting there.
It's not doing anything now.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's the biggest type of facility they use too. I mean, they're going all over the place doing those.
Yeah, I mean, it's working. I mean, there's some engineering you gotta do to work on top of a capped landfill. You don't just, rush out there and throw
Yeah.
stuff in the ground.
Yeah.
I don't foresee it as a huge moneymaker, but it's more than the zero that we get out of it now, so.
Yep,
Better than nothing.
Good.
yep.
Okay. As it comes together, I'll come back with more. And that's all I got for you.
Okay, action items review from the last meeting. Road standard policy has been, postponed to this meeting, so we don't appear to have anything for assessing. So we'll roll right into general business, road standards policy. Now, before we discuss anything in regards to this, I'd like to point out that in the timeline, I'd like to, any comments, concerns, or anything, limit to the 3 minutes for a total time of 25 minutes discussion. And then the board will have their discussion and hopefully come to a consensus as to a vote. So I just ask everybody's cooperation and be mindful of the 3 minute, and then go from there. So, without further ado, I think we can roll right into that. Anybody would like to come up and just go first, discuss? Here's your opportunity.
I'd like to make a comment.
Come on up to the desk.
This is an email that I sent to everybody. Hopefully somebody read it. I'm Dave Dearborn, Battery Lane. The most recent Selectmen meeting, the road standards were discussed, and it was decided, or in a 2-2, as they were trying to disregard the vote of the will of the people on Article 20. It's my suggestion that the Board of Selectmen follow the will of the people and rescind Article 20 in a unanimous vote. For anybody on the Board of Selectmen to think that their vote is more important than anybody in the general electoral is, I think, disrespectful to the voters. So I think, again, the board should reaffirm the rescinding of Article 20 immediately and not have any discussion about it, because that's what the voters asked to have happen. Now, we all know that Nottingham needs standards, so if the board wants to reintroduce a new set of standards or even relight the exact same standards, it's their right to do so. To say that it's just kicking the can down the road again, creating more work for the board, I think is another disrespectful statement to the voters who voted to rescind the article. I would suggest the outcome that, again, the board vote unanimously to reaffirm the article that was voted by the people to rescind Article 20. The board could then rewrite and repost the road standards that were passed during the COVID epidemic. They could take the redraft, rework of the proposed standards and post that, any comments for 90 days for public comment by the town. Once 90 days is passed, the BOS could publish these comments and additional comments would be closed. Then the BOS could review the road standards and public comment and could respond to comment if they wanted to, and they could pass whatever they wanted to at that point and follow the democratic process. Why would the board not want to follow the democratic processes and the will of the voters? To treat the people, the voters, better than they would want to be treated in a similar situation, to always work their hardest to follow the will of the voters and to do the right thing and not undermine the democratic processes of the voters. So I respectfully, that's my thought and my opinion, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before anybody else come up, Judy and Kip were unable to make the meeting this evening, so they prepared a statement they sent to us. I would like to take a moment and read their statement out loud. They addressed it to the Board of Selectmen and Chris Sterndale. We are not able to attend Monday's BOS meeting, so please have the chairman of the board read this statement for us. As we know, the people voted on Article 20 to rescind the road standards policy that the BOS put into effect in 2020. When the people voted to rescind these road standards, they felt that they were eliminated. The majority of the roads in Nottingham would not pass these standards, and we already have in effect zoning and planning requirements for new construction. The selectmen should respect the people's vote to rescind these standards and visit reasonable road standards for existing roads in the town of Nottingham. Thank you, Kip and Judy. That's their statement. Now, anybody else have any other comments that they'd like to bring up? Come on up, please.
Pamela Kelly, 35 Saks Road. Thank you for this chance to be able to speak about this. I guess you probably don't have to, but I think it's important that because this was a warrant article that was by petition and it was passed by the voters, that at least we be heard, and I appreciate that. I'd like to ask for a clarification, if I may. Does the board intend to apply these road standards to Moores Road? Or is that a separate, I think someone once said to a speaker that that was a separate issue. And I don't know, so I just thought I'd ask for clarification.
At the time in which we had put that amendment to that warrant article, we did not have road standards at that time.
Right, I know that. That's why I'm asking the question.
I think one of the key things in that is that everybody thinks that because we have standards, every road is immediately going to be brought up to that standard, and that's just not true.
Of course.
And that there is room for judgment in those standards.
Sure.
So I don't know what that means for Moores Road, but that's all I'm saying, is that there's room for judgment.
Sure. Yeah, I see that. That's written into the to the standards. All right. So I guess you can't tell me whether these road standards will apply to Moores or not. But I think we all understand the pressure that the board was under when these road standards were being considered, and I remember at least 2 or 3 meetings that the town manager urged the board to pass them, that it was important, that it was urgent, and it was because of Article 19. And that was clear, and I think Chris said that the board had lost an opportunity before when other warrant articles were passed for acceptance of roads, and there were no road standards in place. And so it was a matter of urgency. I do remember that, because Article 19 was coming up, and that's why it was passed so quickly. I think that, and I understand that, that's, that had to be done. But I think that is why we have road standards that are probably not realistic for Nottingham. And they do look, I think Kip said, oh, these are just rubber stamps of state standards. They're pretty much rubber stamps of state standards. There were a few little tweaks, but not enough to make them suitable for Nottingham or relevant to Nottingham. And if we need road standards, I'm not sure why we do, but if we need them, I would hope that we could have something that could be more relevant to the roads, the character of Nottingham, the roads in Nottingham. Everybody's pretty much acknowledged that no roads meet these standards, that they're probably never going to meet these standards. And I think the word aspirational was used, but an aspiration is a goal. It's something that you aspire to. And it has to be realistic. If I aspire to sprout wings and fly, you're going to laugh at me because that's not realistic. And I think that if this is going to be aspirational, that they should be realistic. For example, sidewalks, what's that doing in Nottingham road standards? So I'm hoping that the will of the people will be respected and that the board will then establish road standards that are more aspirational realistically for the town of Nottingham. Because if we need them, they should fit our town and not just be something that was passed in haste because of a need. And I understand that need, and so thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No one else? Then I will close the portion of the public discussion, and now the board, I'll open it up to the board for discussion in regards to this road standard policy. Anybody would like to speak to that? I'm sorry, go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, I just want to make one comment, is that I don't think that we as a board came up with those standards quickly. I think that we had looked at the standards, came up with the draft of the standards, and then tabled it for a while, as I recall. And then came back, revisited it, edited, and then voted them in. So I don't feel like we developed them in haste.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly didn't pass these standards because of Article 19. We were working on those standards for the better part of a year plus.
I don't remember the exact timeline, but I do know that we spent time on it, we tabled it, we came back to it, so. I mean, sorry, go ahead.
I see 8 things in there that I take off what we have for standards, so, which I don't think apply to what we need for standards, so. I mean, I did sign it, but again, I wasn't in favor, as it was said in previous meetings, you can look at the minutes, but I was never in favor of having road standards, and I stand behind that still today.
Tyler?
No, I think I said at the last meeting we talked about this is what the people voted for. I mean, but I look at it too, I mean, I think the warrant article says roads as is, right? I mean, so we're not looking to go out there and pave, we're not looking for anybody to call them, say, hey, come pave my road, it says as is, just like we have been
So,
doing.
with that in mind, as is though, should these roads then be applicable to this road standard?
They're town roads now.
I get that, but in the warrant article, it did say as is, so do the
No.
road standard policy would apply to these roads?
The road standards would apply to any town road. It's not as is and
But
it stays
I
in
think
that
that could be
state.
subject to interpretation and.
No, I don't think so, Ben.
I mean, and again, this is where we can agree to disagree, that's the, democracy here. Listen, we have gone great many years without any road standards in this town.
300.
300 years, thank you. 300 years. And how we were able to go that long without some sort of standard. Now, listen, whether it's this standard or another standard, we need to talk about just the minimum standard of how a base of a road should be constructed. you know, when we're doing repairs to these new roads and that have been accepted by the town, you know, our highway department needs something to go by when they repair these roads. You know, the type of gravel that's gonna be used, you know, drainage, you know, things of that nature. You know, and yes, as Donna pointed out, and the other members of the board here, we spent a great deal of time trying to iron that out for the betterment of the community. And so to set some sort of guidelines or standards in which our highway department can go by. Because as of right now, it kind of looks like, you know, over the years, you know, previous highway directors, you know, they did a good job maintaining as far as grading and all that stuff, but maybe sometimes the material that was being used was not up to par in regards to ensuring that the road is, you know, solid, like a solid base. And that's what we need to address going forward. Because you know, I know some of you, when you say mud season is quite a season, you know, part of that is that there's not proper drainage, and the baseline on the roads are not up to par. So, in my opinion, going forward, our highway department needs something to go by. Now, still, the question remains whether it's going to be this standard or something else that comes down the road. I believe that this board has an obligation to get this right for future boards to go by. That being said, you know, I've heard from Kip himself, and I've just heard from Mr. Dearborn, that, you know, if we go by the will of the people and rescind this, we could go back, and if we wanted to reinstate that very same policy. So what does that accomplish? Okay. Yes, we went by the will of the people, but then we go turn around and we reinstated the very same policy. I guess that accomplishes two goals. We did abide by the will of the people, and we did accomplish reinstating that same policy to ensure that our highway department has the guidelines to go by. Anybody else would like to add to that?
I don't know if the thing would be the same. I don't know if the thing would be the same. And we can vote it in as the same later on, but I'd be objective to things in here that I'd like to see changed. You know, as Pam
Well,
said,
at the time that we were-
that these are, a lot of these are unfeasible. And I think the fact that we have, sorry, just wait for one thing, the fact that we have a highway department and we have Sean in there, that he should know the best practices for what he's doing for the town. You know, some guidelines, sure, but I put a lot of faith in him, and we put a lot of faith in him to know his job and to be able to do it well with respect of how he's going to spend town money on these roads. If we set a standard, then we make him pay this much money and say, hey, if you're gonna do it, you have to do it this way here, that could be a lot more expenditure than the way he could just be getting it done. And again, not kicking it down the road, but that's just how I mean, it all comes down to tax dollars. This standards here can be a big tax dollar on the top people of Nottingham. And that's something I don't want to see.
I don't think anybody on this board is saying that these roads have to be all done all at once.
No, we're not saying it once, but I'm saying it's over
But
the time, it's
when
money.
you're talking about a tax dollar, you're in, you know, we're kind of going down a road where it says that we're going to upgrade everyone to this road standard. I think what I was trying to put my point across is that as we progress through.
If we're not, why have them? If we're not, why have them? If we're not going to be upgrading the roads to these standards, why have these standards? What is the purpose of them?
It gives the highway department some guideline to go by in repairs and so on of these roads.
It's not just the highway department too, it's also for projects where we have to hire consulting engineers to come in, right? It gives the engineers a blueprint of ultimately where we're trying to go. It also, you know, it should, you know, also provide people in town with, you know, what our thinking is on roads and what shapes our future projects. So there's a huge impact on other people than just the highway department as well.
And remember too, that Sean's input figured significantly into this standard document. So it's not something that we cooked up that we're imposing on him. We asked him as a subject matter expert to provide his input. He was a significant piece of crafting this document based on best practices and existing state standards.
Any other questions, comments?
I mean, there's only 5 of us here that can vote. And according to the numbers, there were 610 residents that they voted a different way than to stop this or whatever. These roads have been here forever. They've been maintained, they've been, I mean, I have no problem going forward with these roads. I'm not saying all roads, these roads that were named in the warrant article to just do what we've been doing.
And that's all they're asking for.
Yeah, and I want road standards on someone's building a development or somebody's, you know, something, we definitely have to have the highest road standards we can.
Yeah, and we do have road standards for those.
But like you're linking two issues, right? You're linking these road standards with the acceptance of the lake roads that used to be private roads. That's apples and oranges. They have nothing to do with each other.
Well, I just look at it as saying that we've been maintaining these private roads forever. Why, I mean, not, I don't know. I mean, would you tax, people be moving out of town if we're gonna start, again, trying to turn these into certain types of roads. They are what they are.
Right, but what does that have to do with the road standards?
Just, I don't know if we need them, like John said, I don't know. It's, for out there, I don't think we do need them. I mean, I understand that when they came in and told us about the emergency, and we gotta be able to get fire vehicle, all that stuff, I understand that. But these roads have been driven on for hundreds of years, just like they are. Some are good, some are terrible, but.
Yeah, but it's not just those roads. It's like, you know, any of the other roads in town, when we have to undertake a repair, then at least there's a guidance for, you know, making sure that we're making the right improvements and we're moving in the right direction.
Oh, I would agree with that. I want to just close the book on these roads that they're talking about.
So,
Be done with it forever.
But I thought we were, Tyler.
don't know.
I'm struggling a little bit to see how the standards are tied to the new town roads.
It says it right in the first paragraph. First sentence.
The
Acceptance of pre-existing private roads.
John, do you have that right
Right
there?
there. It's linked in the
They
first
what?
sentence.
Those roads are already accepted.
Not all of them.
The ones that were voted upon
Okay,
were.
so we're having a discussion here,
Yeah.
okay? So I am just struggling a little bit with that, Tyler, because the roads are accepted, right? And so what I see this is more of a town-wide issue, not just the new town road.
Okay,
That's,
yeah,
that's all.
I understand.
I don't know, I think it's self-defeating to be eliminating standards in this day and age, when we need to be able to plan and project for budget purposes. I just think it's self-defeating. And I think it's risky, too, for the board to give up its statutory authority in this area. It's a bad precedent.
But then we have the question of the will of the people, voting.
It's a bad precedent not to follow the will of the people.
How far do you take that, though, Ben?
I understand that, but as Tyler pointed out, 610 people voted, and there's a 5-member board here.
Out of 5,500.
Still,
We can only actually count the people that actually showed up for the election as actual voters for that particular number.
Just saying.
So there was 1,200, I think, that showed up that day.
listen, I do believe there needs to be a road standard. Let's I want to make that clear. Whether it's this standard remains to be the question.
Well, let's
I
look at
believe
this
there's
too.
parts in this that can apply to these roads. I mean, let's be honest, realistically, sidewalks would not be, prudent to these roads. The new town roads, not existing roads that we already own, or the town owns,
We've
right?
had people in town ask for sidewalks.
Well, now we have a policy with that, or a standard for that. If it's the will of the people that they want to have sidewalks on their roads.
If we got a vote and 200 people came to town meeting and voted 204 to 200 that they wanted sidewalks, would we go put in sidewalks?
Again, and this is where we could actually,
Depends if the road's wide enough in the beginning to actually add sidewalks.
right,
If it's not,
and
you
then we
can't
get
do it.
into whole legal issues, taking land to ensure that the road is wide enough with the sidewalks and so on, and that's gonna cause a huge issue as well. So, no, Don, I understand where you're going with that, but I think maybe going forward that, any future warrant articles that are gonna be listed should be listed as policy or advisory, so people have a clear understanding of what they're voting for. And the board has, an understanding as to what their obligation is under each warrant article.
You can't change the text of a warrant article.
You can't state that this could be
No,
policy.
because it's a legal opinion. It's universal, but it's an opinion. You do it with your own warrant articles, you can't do it with petition warrant articles. That's neither here nor there.
All right, any more discussion? Does everybody feel comfortable making a vote tonight?
I am. I know exactly how I'm gonna vote.
Ron? John, Tyler?
Yep.
Okay. Someone want to make a motion?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we disregard the minimum design standards for roads adopted in 2020 as the will of the people that voted in May? Is that when it is?
June.
June?
Can I just be picky and ask you to use the word rescind?
Rescind? Okay, sure, absolutely.
Please.
And please add rescind to that.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion?
Remember too, the year, over the course of the year plus that we were working on this, we didn't get proposals from people that now oppose this. And even last meeting, when, I had said to, I believe it was Kip, right, that granted this policy is not a perfect fit for the whole town, so give us some alternatives. No one has come forward to provide any input on these standards. No one's offered any ideas, advice, guidance, other than, let's rescind these and reenact them later. Which is pointless.
I'm opposed to reenacting them, so.
That's all I gotta say.
Any other discussion? All right,
Like I said, I just want this issue to go away. It's been going on for friggin' way too long. I want it to come to an end, one way or the other. I mean, it just,
I don't think it's that easy, Tyler.
no, I know it isn't. That's my own personal feeling.
I understand your thought, but, everyone thought when this was voted on that this was the beginning to the end of it. I think it opened up a new can of worms. If there's no more discussion on this, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? this is one of the hardest decisions that I've had to make for this community. That being said, I do believe that there needs to be a road standard for this town. However, I respect the will of the people's vote. I believe we have the majority of the votes on this board to come up with a new set of standards or reinstate the same standards. That being said, I'm voting to rescind it. So we have 3 nays, and those are in favor of keeping it.
I'm sorry.
Haven't voted yet.
You just said 3 nays, and you said you were voting to
I mean, the
rescind.
three yays. Thank you, thank you. It's been a long day yesterday, my apologies, so.
Still gonna ask who's not voting for it. Still gonna ask who's not voting for it.
I was getting there.
Okay.
And those who are not in favor? 2. 3 to 2.
So what's the plan of attack and timeline from here, Ben?
Well, we'll turn it right around. And is there enough support to reinstate these same standards right now?
That would be pointless.
But we met the objective. We met the objective of the will of the people.
Okay, so
We're not going to get anything on the decision on that tonight. So that being said, it's 3 to 2. The road standard has been rescinded. We will work towards making another standard or tweaking the one that's already there going forward. At this point, the discussion is closed and there'll be no further on it. That being said, we're going to roll right into the next one.
Before we went, one last thing, can I say? These standards are available on our website, right?
Yeah.
They're all listed. So guys, if you want to make any comments in the future, they're listed right on the website. Just email it to the Board of Selectmen.
And if I could make a statement.
Typically, at this point, take them down as they are no longer policy, but we'll find a way to.
Yeah.
Correct.
At this point, though, I would really encourage those who live on these roads, we did ask for input from folks, and I recall not seeing anything, so please.
Well, Ben,
Hold on. That being said, I'd like to have everybody involved in this. We come to a consensus going forward that will benefit everybody.
so I just want to say one more time, the new roads are not tied and linked to the standards. And if you want public input on the standards, you should be getting it from people who live in other parts of town as well.
I open it up to them.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So.
I open it up to them. All right, discussion is done with this. We will set a time to work on this at a later date. In the meantime, we're going to move on with other business. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Thank you. School board? Everybody here?
How many of you, all 5 here?
Of course.
Wherever you'd like to sit. Something less challenging.
We hope.
Oh, definitely.
Guys, we do have a meeting still in process.
Let's open this up.
I think one thing before we start, just like to thank you for your efforts in promoting the concert that happened last night at the school. I know Ben and Lorraine were working hard on it, and you guys really supported it. From all the feedback I'm hearing, the kids really loved it, and it was a positive thing, and I just think it shows that working together, we can get things done, so thank you.
If I could just add something to that, Sue, it really couldn't have gone anywhere without the support of the school board. So,
Which we had to work at a little
Yeah,
bit.
we had to work
just
at
had to
that.
understand things better, but we put our minds to it, and we do
So-
appreciate what you've done.
I think it was a great event all around, so. And if you look at the field today, it's like it never happened, so.
Perfect.
So we'll roll right into this.
I'm going to stay kind of quiet. We have a transition committee. I'll kind of do a quick intro and then hand it off. Our transition committee, we've got Danielle Roy, who's a community member, Jason Spearin, who's a community member, and Deb Ricker, who's a community member. Jason and Deb were also on the planning committee. I went out and looked at the New Hampshire Board of Education minutes, and they did officially approve everything. We had to turn in documents, and those have all been turned in, and so everything, they just need to ensure that everything was done properly, that we posted and so forth. So we're officially approved. We should be getting a new SAU number. These two folks looked at some space, or actually, Deb and I looked at space last year. Jason also has been involved, so they met with Mr. Sterndale, and I'll let him go from there as to where we are. And then also, we'll be bringing this info to the school board, and we'd like the school board to actually meet with the Board of Selectmen as well. I think that would be appropriate.
In the efforts of saving time, why couldn't we have had everybody here? The school board as well.
My understanding is that they owe something to the school board before the school
Yeah.
board,
So we're in,
picks a direction or is ready to ask you for anything, for example, or
Okay.
anything like that. Their boss is the school board.
Yeah, okay.
The school board hasn't heard from them yet, so.
so if I may,
Is that fair?
yes, very much so. So we're looking at a number of different options for where we're gonna put the actual SAU office. We talked to you folks about a year, was it almost a year ago? Must've been almost a year ago, about some different options. And now we're down to, we need to find a place. One of our options did get rented out, which was help me out, Dave.
It's just across the
The
street,
lumber, the
yeah.
lumber yard. So we're now down to basically two choices that we feel, but we'd like to have your input as well. Either having it putting the SAU office in this building down in the community room, or looking at the old town hall building and doing something with that. And there's pros and cons of each, of course. If we use it here, it's less expensive, but we're gonna take up some space from the community. We know, it's that room's being used, and we'll have to figure out how we're gonna reshuffle everybody around. If we go with the old town hall building, well, that building needs a lot more repair than what we have in our budget. Honestly, that's gonna be a pretty expensive piece, but we understand that might be some support for preserving that building. So we're here basically to get your feedback, to get your opinions, see which direction you think would be best for the town and the school, and we'll start digging in deeper to get some better numbers, a better understanding of it all, so.
And then go to the school board
And then
and
go to
then
the
have them
school
come
board
and talk with you guys
and
about the
that's-
details of each.
So basically, when they come, you're ready to make the decision, just doing the prep work tonight.
Okay.
So with that, we sent off that quick email, I don't know if it got forwarded to you. We've got some minimum needs around what we do need with the building. We do need to get at least 4 staff in there, the superintendent, some business folks, and an admin. We'd like to be able to have 5. Ideally, we need to have a conference room for parent to superintendent meetings or any other business piece. And obviously, we need to be able to have the internet, the typical office space. When we looked at the old town hall building, there is space out back to do that, but as you know, the room, it needs a new boiler, it needs, we've got the siding's got some rot issues, it looks like there might even be rot underneath the floor. So that building's gonna need a lot of work to bring it up to speed, versus here it's gonna be much less expensive. So we wanted to see if you had another option for us, and 2, what you think about those 2.
If I may, looking at this, can you fit a conference room, a superintendent's office, and other personnel in that community room?
I think we can.
What we can fit
those
is
would be small.
is a conference table,
Okay.
not necessarily a conference room. We could fit a private office.
Would that go against any HIPAA regulations when you're talking with parents, with the students?
Well, I
With
think-
people in the room?
The thing with an SAU is it's going to be providing administrative services. Most of the services we already support at our school that an SAU would provide. We have facilities there, technology there, curriculum there, the list goes on. So we're going to have a part-time superintendent. We want to hire a full-time student service director, we think, at this point, and that person would be in the school. So most of this is about getting most of your student-facing things right in the building. the SAUs don't have a lot of foot traffic around parents, at least for us. Parents go into the school, that's where the majority of our enrollment is. You may have some high school parents potentially, doing some registration, or not even registration, you do it at the high school. There may be some things that you would do at the SAU, but for the most part, most of the foot traffic and everything is going to be at the school.
Okay.
So we need a business function, that's what we don't have on our own. It needs to be developed. We're trying to develop it as we speak right now. We have no business function to speak of, so those are the kinds of things. And again, I think also like Deb's a civil engineer, so she's looked at that room, and she has some, good ideas as to, does Jason.
She's
Yeah.
the pro of the space.
So she could probably tell you, and we know we have to carve out space for rec, for a closet, storage area, so. I mean, both
Space
spaces.
is limited here, so
Yeah.
the rec department's practically crammed into a tiny little space as it is, so, I mean, we need to be mindful of, let me finish, please. I'd be more apt to, the old town hall. All right, with some help from the town.
We're
gonna
looking
be
at that
expensive.
building.
We want, I like to see that building get some use. What a better opportunity to ensure that it gets some use than to have you folks over there. And if there is some structural things, we can have someone come out and survey it to ensure that it's structurally sound, if that is the will of the board as well, and to ensure that, it's not gonna fall in on you or anything like that. But I would like to preserve the building, or there's some hard decisions that will need to be made regarding that building if we don't have a long-term tenant or being used on a regular basis. It's not good for a building to just sit there and allow it to disintegrate, if you will.
How long has that building been vacant? Is it pretty much
Only
since
during the
the...
pandemic. We've had events going on over there. We used to have a daycare center over there at one point.
In
So it was
the big
getting some
room that
use.
people use for line dancing and things, but that piece behind it, which would actually be the administrative offices, that used to be where we'd go to register vehicles and things, how long has that been empty? My recollection of it is that it was, when I walked through a year ago, it was pretty,
Whenever the town office moved into this building after the school moved from here to the new school is when that building was evacuated, and that's the condition of it.
okay. So the school district signed over, I wasn't really, that was way back in...
SAU gave this building and the land under it, I think, to the town, or sold it for $1 or whatever.
Must have been the school district, because the SAU can't own anything or do anything like
There's a
that.
document about that transfer.
So the school district, the corporation that's the school district in Nottingham just signed it over to the town, and it's pretty much been vacant, except for the big, pretty...
Oh, that building, you mean? No, the SAU signed this building over.
Yep,
To
yeah,
the town.
yeah, okay.
The town moved in here,
When that...
leaving that behind.
But that's
But
been
it's been,
vacant
to her
since...
point, it hasn't been used for a very long time.
Right, yeah, that was the last everyday
Yeah,
use, active use of that, what you're thinking of as an office space.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not aware of any use, once the town clerk and whatever staff, I don't know, maybe there was a town secretary or something, whatever that staffing looked like, moved in here, that's the last time that office area was used.
so that's a pretty neat space. It's got parking, it's close to a library, it's 3 minutes from the school. The only concern about it is that it is, I don't know details about construction things, but, that's going to be expensive, I think, to bring back. Although, I do think for the town, it's good to have your buildings in order and up to code, and, so that would be a good thing.
I think one concern we have is timeline. We need to, our withdrawal ends June 30th, 2022.
We start up as our own SAU on July 1, but we did extend our lease with our current lessor up in Northwood till the end of July to allow for, you're going to have data migration, a lot of things, and you can't just turn Tony's like, yeah. So we need a wind-up period, and so we've got 30 days, but I wouldn't want to use the whole, 30.
So from what you know of the old town hall, what do you project for a time frame to get that ready with what,
Well,
to what the town wants to use it for.
to bring it up to, well, part of it's already been brought up to code, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, particularly the back office. And then we'd have to address the second floor and all that. We would recommend that would remain, closed. So I think the timeline is probably gonna be longer than what your lease is at this point, so.
Depends on how much work you want to do to it.
So we would have to have somebody that would do a walkthrough and come back to us with, recommendations for what would need to be done and ballpark costs. So I think one of the questions is, Chris, like, how soon could that be done?
I don't know, it's not the greatest time to be looking for
I know,
contractors to do anything.
I know.
That question's gonna trouble this building or that building, so.
Fair, yeah.
Do you think Gary would take a walk around there and?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
He just replaced the door over there.
Yeah.
I do,
Because I think that's going to drive, the decision of, which is the right way to go, and if that is the right way to go, then what is the
give us a
timeline?
Outline.
timeline
Right.
and cost.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's
I mean,
gonna be
I think, do we agree that, in a perfect world, that would be a great location for you guys, and that would be the preferred location for you guys, or no?
It's close, there's no questions there. It's,
Provides you
come
plenty
over
of space, more space than what you would have here.
But they also, if you come here, and this is one way I look at it, you just closed us off as a town for any expansion that we need in this building, because it's gone now. There's no room for us. So that's a huge thing for us. If we need to do something, we can't now.
Another,
Schools, I always believe, in my opinion, should always be separate from the town.
they're two different
I
corporations,
understand.
totally separate.
That's, again, I'm
I
just,
do think we have some synergies, though, that we could
Yeah.
be saving some money on, you know.
I think you got cut off when I started to say that I think that the ideal would be over there, and you're kind of hesitating. So what are you thinking?
I can't speak for the committee.
But you have your opinion. You can have your opinion.
What is your background?
I have a degree in civil engineering. I worked for 10 years doing aviation engineering, so I didn't do building, so I don't want that
yeah, that's fine.
misspoken.
Okay.
That room gives us about 900 square feet of space. The other building, yes, you have that big, large wooden, like that big main area, which we could use, but it would still have to be turned back to the town for events. So it would be a temporary type of conference room.
That was me saying, I think that's what the town's gonna want. That's not a policy statement by this group, that the big room is.
Yeah.
Is there much,
Needs to have some weekend and evening availability for town groups.
Yeah, yeah.
That was me saying, I think that's what the town's gonna want, not you saying that's a.
We agree with that.
Sorry.
Right, no, and I think we agree with that statement, that anyone I've spoken to in town would want that space available. They want to see it redone.
So if this gives you 900 square feet, what does just the back space over there give you?
it's small,
It's smaller.
it's
John mentioned
cut
it, I
up.
didn't-
That's the hard part. So there's a back vault, you guys called it. And really that would make a great little conference room. We just gotta knock a couple of windows in the cinder block. Then from there, we could probably get one small office space in the back corner for the superintendent. And then from there, everybody's open cubicles. And that's it. Of course, the bathroom space is around, you have to come through the door, go around. Bathroom's completely gone right now. I mean, there's nothing left. It has to be fully rebuilt.
Yep.
So no matter what, you're always gonna be walking through that community space to get to what we had proposed, a bathroom kitchenette area. It's actually probably gonna be a little smaller in the big picture, unless we took over the whole space, and then if you use the big room, well, then you're all set.
I would be in favor of the whole space, but I understand the importance of, reserving some space for activities for the community as well. What's the rest of the board think about that?
Well, I just want to go back to what John said, because I think his point is well taken, that if the SAU moves into the room here, then we have no more space. And we can't foresee, you know, what that need might be, but, you know, there's always growth, right? So I do think that that's a concern.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're leaning towards the old town hall.
Well, what I would like to see is, like, that we get somebody over there and do a real assessment of what's needed, what's not needed, and what the estimated cost would be.
So why don't we do that first?
Sounds good.
All right, and then we'll set up a meeting to come back, and hopefully we'll have an answer for you. And then maybe we can move forward with some sort of plan, whether it's there or here or whatever.
And maybe at that point, the board comes and,
Yeah.
How much money do you have?
we've got an unassigned fund
Let's talk about
balance at the
it.
SAU, probably around 50.
Well, because now you're gonna ask us how much we're gonna spend for you.
We're not there yet.
Well, again,
That's the question in everyone's
If we go over
mind.
there, that's gonna be,
And I don't think the board's prepared to even discuss that right now until we know what an inspection would look like and whether the needs are of that building.
it's okay, we're just gonna define whatever. but
Yeah,
I don't think that's right, because
I mean, I look at
How
it,
can you put a number on something if you don't even know what kind of work needs to be done to the building?
I look at an opportunity for long-term rental into an agreement with
Yeah.
somebody's in that building. The more that people aren't in that building, and not just the one night a week or whatever, I mean, this is something that will, you know, bring money into the town.
So you'd be in favor of the
Them having the whole space.
whole space? Okay.
Can I ask a question about that? So are you thinking that the SAU would be paying rent for that space?
Well, no, you're just saying, you need a space, right? Not saying the whole space, but I mean, you wanna have enough room. I mean, out back's not even that, that's a basement, basically, cinder block, right?
Yes.
The heat and everything out there. We just did the electrical. The electrical was a complete mess out there. Place was dangerous. Upstairs was dangerous. The building will fall over if we don't do something, and that's, so be it, but, I mean, the fire escape, I don't know if it's still on there now. I wouldn't step on the thing because it's, you know, it's
Right.
18 inches off the building.
Wow.
Hey, Tyler, is it, so we're talking about what would need to be done to make that space downstairs usable, but I also heard you say that you wouldn't want anybody to go upstairs.
Yeah.
Is there, like, we could invest money in the first floor, is there a risk of, you know, something happening
No,
resulting
no,
from?
I think upstairs, I mean, again, the building's beautiful. It's just the upstairs, if we were gonna do something with that, we'd spend an absolute fortune.
No, I just want to make sure that if we invested money in doing the ground floor, that there wasn't a safety hazard that
I don't think there's
could
a safety
ultimately
well,
impact,
I
you
don't
know,
know, what do you think, Chris?
it'd be a waste of what we just did,
We're
right?
not aware of
Yeah.
anything threatening, like
Okay.
looming like that, but we've
Yeah,
never
okay.
had any professional eyes on it, but
Right,
it's just empty and
okay,
what makes it dangerous upstairs is lack of egress, windows that are just barely off the floor.
okay,
The only way to get up there is this narrow splitting
Got it.
staircase. It's not
Okay.
accessible. It's, you know, it's,
okay,
there's not you don't walk up there and say, oh my God, that's gonna fall through the floor.
oh, okay,
We don't
Okay,
have
okay.
those.
okay, all right.
We've not seen anything like that.
And I haven't been over there for a long time, so I don't remember the space that well. I do remember going and registering my car.
Yeah, me too.
But, is it possible, is there like a middle ground where, they take some of the big space, but there's enough left for community events and line dancing and that kind of stuff? I don't know how big it is.
I think it's all or nothing with the main room.
Okay,
The stage area is probably up for grabs. That's that little half stair thing, but it's probably not that usable for you. That's the, as you walk in the main door, that's the far wall.
okay.
And maybe you put a copier up there or something, but it's not, again, it's not gonna be accessible, so, probably not great.
It's, yeah, it's,
I think we would have to understand that regardless of what space, we'd have to accommodate either rec, and we have to be good neighbors and do that, and the same thing with that space. I think I agree with Chris that there's interest in that building from the community perspective, and they would not want to lose that. So we would definitely have to, use that on a more flexible basis and have it be able to be accessed by the town.
And I guess we can always throw out too, if we were to, that ends up being too expensive over there in the big picture. The space over here doesn't have to be permanent either. It could be that might be a shorter term, just because of the nature of if
Maybe we
they ever
fix,
finally get the expansion on the school that the town thinks is right, maybe the space across the street with Fernald's opens back up, and the proximity works better. I mean, there'll be options.
or we could phase the work on that other,
Yep.
to make it more cost effective. I don't know.
But a lot of what we would do here would actually be upgrading the space for future folks. Because we're gonna be cleaning up the back wall, making a better storage area, fixing the windows, probably putting in a door out the back to help with egress, flooring, things that the town will probably appreciate in the long run with the space.
Are you in sales?
It could be. But I'm
Better way to pitch
it. I'm a bit of like, all right, let's just find that thing, that path that's gonna work for everybody for the time. To just see like what, just in case, because I really do worry that building's gonna be, I've rehabbed a lot of old buildings like that, and I'm gonna put the number, my guess is well over 200,000 to get things straightened out.
Again, this is why I think a professional should go out there and inspect it, and that way we will have a good mindset as far as what direction we should go pertaining to that building. So, if we could,
So Chris, we don't meet next week, which is the 6th. We meet the 13th. And then, do we meet the 20th again? Are we meeting both of those?
No, I think we only meet the 20th. I don't think.
We only meet the
13th.
20th. Okay.
Yeah, 20th.
we still have a lot to discuss. I mean, does it warrant another meeting? Adding another meeting, Chris?
The limiting factor here is gonna be who can we get for professionals in there? And that's,
Yeah.
All right.
that's gonna be a tag team effort.
Yes, it will. I've got one, John, you guys probably know, John English.
Okay.
It was my,
But that's just in this environment,
Yeah.
to get the level of detail you're gonna want is gonna take too long, so we're gonna be spitballing something
yeah.
for your next.
It was also always, I thought, something that we were deciding that we want to keep that building no matter what in Nottingham. So we were gonna do something about it. That was always kind of, we didn't just figure what we were gonna do yet, but that was always something. So even if we get this second, because again, if they move here for a limited basis, 3 years, 4 years, until something better opens up, I wouldn't be opposed to that either, as long as it's not a full-time forever in the building.
So,
What are you
In this
gonna
building, you're talking about?
I know, that's,
Well, yeah, hopefully they're gonna find a better space than what they have here. That's,
Right, I mean,
You're talking this building, right?
yeah, we're talking this building, but I would like to see that other old building repaired and get done, so
Yeah, I think you're gonna find yourself deciding to spend money on that building,
one way or the
no
other.
matter what. It's too important to the town.
Yep.
And it frustrates us all that we keep spending money on it for really no benefit.
yep.
Just to keep it from falling over on itself, and that's.
But here's a perfect opportunity to be able to have someone there on a, it's getting used. Things that pop up can be addressed right away as opposed to allowing it to
Sit,
sit. So the care of the building would be much better at having someone there.
Hey, Sue, if we said, okay, that's the right space for you guys, we've got a windfall, we can afford it, you can have the whole space and
Yeah,
everything.
I win the lottery.
Yeah, you win the lottery, and you give it to the town. Is there an opportunity, so we have limited space for groups that want to hold things, right? Is there an opportunity to have the school be a little more open for activities that people want to do at night and stuff?
We do have an official policy around school use, and we have had groups in the school now during the pandemic. That pretty much was,
Yeah.
a mess, but
Yeah.
I think that certainly, we had people, groups in the art room, conference room.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I
So
think
if somebody wanted to hold line dancing in the gym at the school, that might be an option.
Or the cafeteria.
Cafeteria.
Oh, yeah, whichever, yeah,
Cafeteria.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They might have a.
Yeah, I know we do a lot with NYA. They use the building. We have a soccer group that uses the backfield. So I think you'd have to look at the overall schedule and see.
Yeah,
what
yeah,
we
yeah,
fit.
okay.
One thing that just crossed my mind, and I can't commit to anything, but I could ask tomorrow afternoon, the construction company that we have is pretty good, and they might be able to take a quick look, and
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we gotta grab as many eyes as we can,
Yeah.
as quickly as we can.
we've got a good architect and a good construction company, really good couple of guys there, and maybe they'd be amenable to taking a look if you're open to that.
Would you like them to look at the other room as well?
Just give.
There's a back wall, like around the windows would need to be, you can see, daylight and stuff. I mean, they could give you a quick,
I know it's not your preference.
No, it's not it. But wouldn't that be your expenditure, not ours?
Well, here, we
Right.
can afford it.
So if you want to send somebody to look at it, and it's your bill, I don't see why we'd say no
But here,
about
we
it.
we can afford it. The other, meaning.
Right.
Right.
The build out, easy.
but you're just talking about what their cost to provide an estimate of what would be done. You guys don't, I just don't want too many hands in the pie, and you were saying it might be hard. It's something we could just ask, if they'd be willing to do
At
it.
this point, I would say we ask anybody and we find time to let them come in and look and give us their thoughts.
Yep.
At this stage. What I've seen, and maybe you have better luck than I do, but it is impossible to get anybody in the trades, anybody with any skill on any kind of calendar right now.
Wow,
If you know people, great, but
okay.
we're gonna have to, pull every string to get people in to give us the information you're gonna need.
And one quick question around for that building, the trees out back, does the town have its own services ability to take down a couple of those trees?
We contract that.
There's three in
They're
particular
overhanging the
that,
roof.
irregardless, should probably go sooner than later.
Is it on our land?
We don't know that. We need to confirm that.
That's,
That's not a very big area over there.
It's tight back there.
It's very tight back there.
Just,
I
there's,
think the trees we're talking about are behind the rock wall, which is probably your property line.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
it's,
I don't know. I haven't looked at.
Doesn't mean you can't approach the.
Right.
Yeah.
there's three trees that I would, aren't in the best place for their size.
Yeah, things like that can be difficult, so.
well, if that's the case, either way, it should be addressed.
We're gonna do it.
So, okay, so going forward, I guess we'll just get some folks out there to look at the building. They'll obviously have recommendations and what their idea of the cost might be. And then we'll meet again and we'll see where we go from there.
Okay. And if we if we find someone that we think could do it, we'll work with you?
Yeah, or we can, I can get you a key. And, we're at the stage now where just go in and scope out what you need to, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect, absolutely, you got it,
You don't need to
100%.
wait on me.
And when you put the key in, make sure you wiggle it just right, because if you don't, it's not gonna work. It's a little, yeah,
finicky.
it's a little.
I got it.
You might sit there for a couple minutes
Or
going,
we get
what's wrong
locked
with
into
this
the
thing?
building and need services to get us out, and yeah.
Before you pack up, do you want to touch on anything else that we don't have to solve today, but is on your radar for?
Well, as far as, we've got different services that as we look to build this out, as far as, we'd love to be able to, software, for instance. We know the town uses, who's it, BMSI?
No.
No.
You're still with BMSI, okay.
Reluctantly.
And we're
That's our
going to be
accounting.
looking at software packages as well, so it'd be good to get a statement from the town on as to if you're going to stick with them or not, and what direction you're leaning, because clearly working with the same company might yield a good financial
Yep.
benefit to both. Same thing we know about phone services. The school just recently went over to voice over IP, but you guys are still using Comcast. Love to be able to examine that too. We'll see if we could work
There just
one
might
way
be-
better, one will work better for the other, and if it's all together somehow.
Even the ADP service, potentially.
The what?
You've got ADP on payroll?
Oh, ADP.
ADP.
Yes, yeah, we use that for that.
So, right now, we've got Tyler Technologies, iVision, That the SAU is a really expensive installation. We haven't really been able to get fully trained up on it. It's pretty complicated, and we're gonna be figuring out what it's gonna cost to move the data over. I don't know if that's something that you folks are interested in looking at.
For things like that, can we do that if we're technically two separate legal entities? Can we do that?
We'd have to probably look at it. I would think you might be able to, so.
Same company, two different contracts, different billing, but because we're all together, I would think it might be able to
Maybe they give
some
a discount for multi, who knows?
We can ask. I mean, these are the kinds of, we just don't want to ask these questions if you have no appetite for it whatsoever. It's nothing, no commitments or anything, but just as we're talking
You
to
should
them.
definitely look for opportunities, I think.
And if it doesn't work out, like if you can't put multiple entities on it without it being, cost prohibitive, then we just back off, but we could just ask.
Doesn't hurt to ask. No? Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, well, thank you, guys.
Good to see you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for the calendar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if we have other, what, is this pertaining to the road standard? Because it's,
Moore's Road specifically.
I'm sorry?
Moore's Road specifically? Not the road standard. I just had a question.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Jim Rossborough. I'm 41 Moore's Road. I'm here to ask the board's help in determining what needs to be done to bring Moore's Road up to the conditions that the board will accept it. I'm willing to work with you people. I understand we need to do some work to the road. I just don't know what.
Well, we just rescinded the road standard. I would refer that to Sean McLean.
Do I contact him directly?
No.
To the road standard, or what he thinks could bring it up, I mean, I'd want his input.
Well, having him provide input to the board is fine, and having a conversation with the board is fine. Having Jim go and talk directly to Sean about it is not fine. I mean, I'm not saying that
He
you
should have
can't-
access to
I'm
the-
not saying that you can't talk to Sean, I'm just saying that.
I would hope I could, yeah.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not a dictator like some people think, but it's just, Sean works for the board, and, right? So we should have the conversation with him, and we should all be in sync so that you're not getting mixed
That's
messages.
fine, I just need to know what the requirements are. Right now, I could go by my guess, but it might not meet your requirements, and I
Yeah.
would rather meet them if we can come up with a reasonable solution. So I don't know how to do that. I don't know what the next step would be for me to do. What would I do?
Go ahead, Donna.
If only we had road standards.
Then I would tell him, why bother even come up here, because he's...
Well, really, if you looked at the warrant, it's basically up to you people to say yes or no. So, somebody's gonna tell me what to do.
Okay.
I don't think that's unreasonable.
I think at this point, where there is no road standards, then that stipulation should be taken off.
Sure, but,
Well, that was voted on by the town. You can't cancel out
Well,
the vote.
there's no
as it
road
was.
standards, so, I mean, if we, are gonna sit here and say, hey, this road should be good, then, we have nothing in policy right now until we make something else up. And then that's gonna be subject to, folks rescinding that one as well. So, Tony, if you have some ideas, I am open to it.
in all honesty, there's not much difference between Moore's Road and all these other roads that were just accepted, so there's no special requirements here. As a matter of fact, Moore's Road is in pretty damn good shape compared to a lot of these roads. But I understand there may be something you want to see done, and I'm willing to do that, but I got to know what it is. Or, tell me we're good to go, and then that's fine too. I just need to go forward, I can't.
If I would've known better, I thought his road was on the roads of being accepted. It wasn't until after the vote was overdone that I realized Moore's Road wasn't listed.
Well, it came a year prior.
Oh, I remember, I was here.
Yeah.
But again, I just figured when they were listing all the roads, they were just throwing that one in there
Well,
too.
we need to address this. This needs to be answered for this guy, for this gentleman here. Because he's been in limbo for a couple
2 years now. Yeah.
So, whether that happens tonight,
It's not gonna happen tonight.
That's
It's
fine.
It's not gonna happen
happen
tonight. We can't.
clearly it's not gonna happen tonight.
I can see
So,
that.
But if I can just make one comment, I think every department head should be made available to the public if the public wants to speak to them.
Ben, I was not saying that he
Okay,
can't
I just
talk
want
to
to make
Sean.
sure that was
Come on
clear,
now.
Donna, okay? Thank you.
What I was saying was it's not, it's,
right.
we all have to be in sync, and that, I can't believe you just said that. That is really low.
No,
So do I come back at the next meeting? What do I do? I just need to know what to do.
It's a fair ask. Obviously, we're not prepared to answer it tonight, so let us sync up with Chris and Sean, right?
Will somebody get back to me?
Chris will get back to you and we'll,
Any idea how long it'll take?
nope,
Are we talking about a week or a month or a year?
4 years.
So that's a little long. I mean, can we reasonably assume it's gonna be in a week or so, 2 weeks?
no. This is gonna take some work.
Okay.
I,
I just need to know how long that is gonna be, that's all. It can't be open-ended. It really needs to be, I mean,
No, sir,
I'm having a little bit of a hard time to,
Sir, I totally understand, and I agree with you.
I'm just trying to
But as
figure
you
out
can
why.
clearly see, the board is divided.
I can see
Okay.
that.
I'm
I'm wondering
hoping
why
that
it would
maybe we
take,
can rectify that in the coming weeks or months, hopefully not that long, but to come up with some sort of, agreement, and so that you can move forward one way or another.
that's reasonable. I just would, I think a month would be fair. I mean, I don't really see why it would
I'm
take
not prepared
longer
to
than that.
put a timeline on it, because as I already mentioned, the board is pretty divided on it right now. So we need to iron that out first.
Within a month, we should at least be able to come back and tell him what the process is gonna be.
I would hope so.
What the process is. It doesn't necessarily.
One can hope, and
have to
I
be-
would truly hope that that would be the case.
I really would hope so, too. So I come back in a month, is that the deal?
Chris will be in touch with you.
Okay, all right, that's fine. All right, I'll wait to hear from Chris within a reasonable amount of time. Obviously, he'll contact me when he knows something, is that? All right, thank you for your time.
Did you have other business, or?
I would. Kevin Bassett, 101 Shore Drive. I own Lamprey and part of John the Dam Road.
Okay.
If I may.
Is this pertaining to the road standard policy?
I hope so.
Well, I mean, the discussion of that has ended, so if it's other than that,
I hope so. And if I may, Mr. Chair, may I pass out one page to the board?
so are we leaning towards talking about the road standard, the policy that was just rescinded?
Is this about your particular road or the road standards in general? And the only
My
reason,
particular road, but I would like to offer this as a lead-in of the other roads. If we come to agreement on this road, it might help with the other roads.
okay, so the only reason I'm asking about the distinction is because if we don't have something like this on the agenda, we can't be prepared for it. And so if we go into your particular road tonight, we're not prepared to have that discussion.
I hope
So-
this to be a one-way discussion, not a reverb back to me.
I still, in these situations, like, if you could call Chris and get on the agenda, then we can have a better discussion about it.
Understood.
Yeah, just,
Understood.
do you just want to make a speech to the board and not reply? We don't have to give you any answer about nothing?
Say
Now, what you
again?
said about your one-way discussion, you just want to tell the board something and that's it? We don't have to give you
That's
any
it.
answer, nothing?
I believe that's the case.
Well, I mean,
How much time do you need? 5
7 and a
minutes?
half minutes. May I pass this out to the board? And I will make this as quick as I possibly can. I hope I have enough copies.
we can share if we have to,
Mr. Chair, if we have.
because I probably already know. You got plenty there, Kevin, come on now.
Don't, because
Thank you.
Lamprey and Dollar Dam Road could be used as a lead-in to other roads. And I had just marked out what I believe to be the areas in which are not maintained at this time. And I've asked the board, maybe even the planning board, I'm not sure, to establish what has and has not been maintained in this area. So this is what I think, and I would just ask if you could confirm these areas, if they are maintained or not maintained. If they're not maintained, it's sort of, as a simple view, that these could be declared as driveways. And there may be 2 lots, 3 lots, 5 lots, etc. And some of these are obvious, some of these are not obvious. Some people may rebut this, but we have some facts that some people pay for driveways being plowed now, and obviously they are not being plowed by the town. So that's the marked areas. Possible turnaround spots, these are sort of my arbitrary spots. Maybe I could work with the town to make these a little more accessible for turnaround spots for the areas. Suggestions to the Board of Selectmen. Specifically define the snow plowing areas, equipment, turnaround areas that are established now. I've asked that before. I haven't got any reverb from that, and I don't expect to, but I would hope that you know where the areas are that are maintained now. Thus, it's sort of a clear and cut as the Amendment 19, Article 19 states as is, sort of defines that. It says what you do now is what you do in the future. 1 through 6, 8 through 20, 21 through 24. And then the last thing that sort of pertains to me specifically is dedication and acceptance. And this was brought up on a particular planning board proposal. You know, is this Lamprey Drive truly dedicated and accepted at this time? It might have been in 1966. It might be a 20-year thing. As you go forward with your attorneys and such, establish that criteria. If it needs to be done again, I'm open for it. As I'm the owner of these roads, I think you need to, if it hasn't been done, I think it needs to be done. So that's the last, number 5. 6.5 minutes.
I appreciate you coming before the board with this. We will take it under advisement. However, I would like to, comment that perhaps maybe this should have came forward with the rest of the group that was here pertaining to these roads when we were talking about the standard policies and so on.
The other group being?
The one that was just here talking about the rescinding of the road standard policy.
Okay, but.
I don't know who they were, but.
So, what Kevin's asking is something that we should be asking our attorney.
Yep.
As towards these sections of road, which he's marked off in red, these were never plowed or graded or done anything by the town. Are we now responsible, or because of how we voted, are we only responsible on the roads that we did? This is his questions towards us to ask our attorneys. Because if we're not maintaining these red sections, can they be considered just driveways?
Well, that kind of applies to a couple of the different roads, right?
Again, it's going to apply. It can happen on White Grove, it can happen on there's a lot of sections that are like that, and this is a very important question that we need to discuss with the attorneys on Wednesday when we're there.
Well, I'm thinking
and this is why I'm
Saxon.
happy for Kevin to bring this up, because that's a very good discussion.
I'm thinking Sax and Jamsa. They never used to do the whole road.
Sure, White Grove, they don't, the whole section they don't do. And, Bardary Lane, there's a whole section that they don't do. I mean, it's.
As is.
I understand, Kevin.
The article says as is. That gives you guys a way out,
But we're gonna.
from my
discuss
perspective.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
that's my 7 minutes.
that. Thank you, Kevin.
Is that where your new house is there?
Yeah, but there's
Okay.
Is it
Now we
really,
have action
Richard?
items, and maybe we'll go with the side.
Is that where your new house is gonna be, really?
Road standards that we use definition of Morris Road.
Well, what about these ones? Are these just plots of land? I don't, I probably have, but I, you know.
These are all lots, yeah.
Anyone, you own?
No. These are all houses, people own.
Okay. You all set with the sidebar conversations? We can continue?
Yeah.
Okay. Review action items for next meeting. Obviously, school. Any others? Kristen?
I have road standards, SAU transition, and Morris Road.
Okay. Do we have anything for non-public?
And probably 300 celebration.
All right.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Nottingham. Have a good night.